What's up? It's StrongSide, episode 5. I'm Mike Marshall. He is Mike Palucci. We both work at D Magazine. It's funny how that works out.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you've watched the previous episodes that we've had. I thought they were all bangers, award-winning, as you might imagine.
We are in no way biased about that.
Zero. Best of Big D quality. We're coming to you live from the Haymaker studio up here in Frisco, or wherever you're at. It's Frisco, okay? It doesn't have to be up here in Frisco.
No.
It can be
If
it
you're
could be
in Salina,
south to you.
it's down here.
It could be east of you. It could
Yeah.
be anywhere. But the Haymaker studio is where we broadcast from. And thank you. If you need to book a studio, contact these guys.
They're great.
Also stop by Roller Town on your way. Have a good time.
There's good beer.
Make a day out of it up in Frisco. All right, we got
In
the sports.
Frisco, not up.
Not up in Frisco.
Not up.
It's
Wherever
just
Frisco is
wherever
relative
it
to
is
you.
in relation
Make your
to
day
you.
there.
Shout out Tim. All right, so let's get into it, Mike. The Cowboys. That's exactly what I wanted from a Cowboys game. That was so much fun.
It was.
And
Yeah.
drama to lead the thing off, right? It's like
Yeah.
a 3-act play happened. Like, why is CD and George Pickens not playing? And then, oh, the team's good again. And, oh, Quinnen Williams is fun. But we get to face the Eagles. Who
What could go
are-
wrong? What
who
could go
are
wrong? Yeah.
a rolling death ball of knives
Yeah.
who just, like, take the life out of all football that they're involved with, but win somehow.
Anti-fun.
Yeah.
Anti-fun.
So we get the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. Any chance that the Cowboys claw back into this NFC East picture?
Well, see, any chance could they win this game is different than any chance they win. They get back to the playoff picture. I honest, maybe I'm just a total Dumbo. I think there's a chance they can win this game. Season opener was competitive, and that was at a time when nobody knew what Brian Schottenheimer's deal was going to be, when this defense had a lot less talent than it does now, when they weren't even playing Javonte Williams full-time, even though he is resuscitated as a very good NFL running back, and none of the other options are good. Like Miles Sanders was getting real snaps in the opening game, right? That was the first Pickens game. There's a lot of stuff that like feels a little more ironed out here. But, I mean, this is a team that even if they win on Sunday, they're still 2.5 behind Philly. If they lose to Philly, the season's basically over because they are not. They can't claw back to the division. They are not getting in as a wild card. The NFC East is terribly soft compared to the rest of the conference. I think it's doable in the sense that it's funny because this is the perennial underachiever against the perennial overachiever. You watch Philly and you watch Jalen Hurts become more and more just obviously afraid of throwing into the middle of the field like it's the damn Bermuda Triangle or something like that. The vibes are horrific. A.J. Brown, I think, hates everybody he works with.
Yeah.
The line is a mess, mostly because of injuries. Now Lane Johnson's out.
Yeah.
Saquon. It's kind of like when you are in one of those video games and you push the turbo button, you've got a little meter. It's like he used the whole turbo meter last year, and we're at the very end. And Saquon got 28 carries or something like that last week, and he just isn't efficient because they used all the juice in his legs to get that miracle season last year. So you look at them, and then you look at this Cowboys team where everything offensively is there, from the skill guys, the pass catching group to Dak to like quietly Tyler Guyton's getting better at left tackle. It's a massive development. Quinnen Williams, everything we were kind of kvetching about a few weeks ago.
He was awesome, man.
He was awesome. Logan Wilson is an adult in the room in the linebacking core. DeMarvion Overshown will be playing more. There are ways you can talk yourself into this Cowboys thing. And before the idea of emotionally they have a lot to play for, that was the best part of Monday was, of course, that they went out and, as Brian Schottenheimer said, I mean, you couldn't not feel things when he's in the locker room saying that I'm proud of you and Marshawn is proud of you too. So you want to believe in it, but this is a team that we've got nearly 30 years of finding ways to underachieve against a team that, as ugly as it looks, it's as bad as the vibes are, it is every year for like 5 weeks you're wondering if Nick Sirianni should be working at like Kinko's. Somehow it works. And so I will say I think they can win Sunday. I don't think it matters very much in the big picture.
They're the best team that makes football look like such work.
Yeah.
That I think I've ever seen.
It's a chore, man.
And they legitimately have some guys that dislike each other. Like, there's not that much noise around a football team constantly, and you don't, and I'm talking about the Eagles, if you haven't figured that out, that they dislike each other. There's some bad blood going on there. I think they're gettable. I think they absolutely are gettable. And that's not me judging from the Raiders game. It was good to see a defense that has a little bit of a backbone and can get some stops when they need to, and some disruption up front was like chef's kiss. Oh my God, I haven't seen that in so long. It's because of the offense. It's because your second or third best coverage player is going to be on Jake Ferguson or CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens.
Have fun.
And when Dak is locked in and he knows what you're doing defensively because he is that cerebral as a quarterback, he's going to throw it to the open guy or the guy that's got one-on-one coverage. And when Fergie's playing like that, George Pickens, I don't even know what that was. That was like a wild TikTok that happened. Like, it was just like the inside of someone's like TikTok brain of just like, this would be fun.
You know, we were getting some George Pickens moments, though. There's a reason Pittsburgh was like, we'd rather not. And that's baked into getting him for a third-round pick, which obviously, even if he's not here next year, is so worth everything they've got. But you were going to get some weird George Pickens. Yeah. This wasn't just going to suddenly be like suit and tie George Pickens. Yeah. We were getting some stuff.
Yeah, we got it, man. Like 3 or 4 of those plays, I was like, why would you think of that?
Yeah.
The INT he broke up was maybe the most impressive game.
Yeah.
He got his hand on that and then almost caught it. Like he's one of the most skilled athletes you can ever possibly watch.
When they traded for him, I wrote that he's compared himself to a player in a video game, and like most other people, you're just like, yeah, cool, man. He's right.
Yes.
He's 100% right.
He is.
Basically, every gift is there. And I love that, like, there have been like 3 or 4 times this year where he runs that in route and he gets it and he turns right around. And he's so big and so quick at changing direction that nobody can do anything about it. And then there's 25 yards of yak.
Yeah, you forget how big he is until you see him against NFL corners who are like just average size people, like 6'5", 10 to 6 foot. And he's just towering over them and holding them off, and they can't tackle him.
No.
Dude, that was phenomenal. That was so cool. If he brings that attitude. And whatever fired CD up and the passing game up, it was probably late night Vegas from what we've heard.
whatever was going on where they just weren't in the first series.
I think they are gettable, and it doesn't change the season really at all to me.
No.
I think that'd be a great high water mark to go like, man, we played tight against the Eagles week 1, and then we beat them. That was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But there's just too much water on the boat at this point.
I think so. Anthony Davis, another week where we are told that we might know what's going on in another week. The Mavericks sent out a release saying that he is making good progress. There's also a little thing called math, which tells me that Anthony Davis, since arriving last February, has played fewer games in a Maverick uniform than Cooper Flag, who is a rookie. Yeah. That is not what you want for the guy you traded the best player in franchise history for. I'm not going to ask, because I think it's unfair to make some referendum on Anthony Davis specifically for whenever his Mavs tenure is over, whether that's a trade deadline this year, whether that's years in the future. I don't think that's fair to Anthony Davis because he still has games to play here. But there are probably already people who think that he is the worst trade acquisition in team history for reasons that are not really about him. What I'm going to ask you instead is, what must Anthony Davis do for however long he's left here to avoid the designation of being the worst trade acquisition the Mavericks ever had?
Yeah, it'd be hard to compete against Lamar Odom, but we're getting close. We're getting out there.
In part because Lamar Odom was acquired for stuff that you won't remember, and you definitely remember what was paid to get Anthony Davis.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the rest of his time here, whether that's a December trade, whether that's the rest of his contract and a renegotiation into the future, I don't know what can be a win for Anthony Davis at this point. I don't know if it's a possibility for me to feel good about it ever, him as a Maverick. I think it might be one of those things where we say, oh, yeah, remember Anthony Davis as the Maverick? Yeah. And there has been one half of healthy basketball.
Which was a great half of healthy basketball.
That he and Kyrie Irving played together. And it was awesome. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Beating the Rockets last season in that half was phenomenal.
He whipped them. Yeah.
It was so cool. I don't know if there's a statistical measure besides him being here, playing well enough to recoup some of his trade value. That's the win to me.
Yeah.
Show that you can play. Show that you can contribute to either average or winning basketball. Show that you are somewhat the form that you used to be in a Dallas Mavericks uniform so that they can move on.
Which is what's best for him, too. Because
that's what's best for him. Absolutely.
He didn't sign up for this,
No.
And that's the thing. Like, it is worth noting, as frustrating as it is that he's been hurt as often as he is, he's tried to play.
Yes.
That last year, he was not healthy in those playing games. He went out. He did it. The very, let's say, uncomfortable story of Nico Harrison pushing to get him back to play.
Pretty weird,
pretty gross, pretty fireable, irrespective of all the other stuff. But set aside Nico Harrison for a moment. He knows it's too soon. Anthony Davis knows it's too soon, but Anthony Davis is like, yeah, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying. Now, we could sit here and take a little smoke break to acknowledge the reporting that Anthony Davis was out of shape coming into this year and had concerns last year that he was out of shape in Los Angeles for a team that I hear does not employ anybody who's out of shape ever. You don't take a vacation on the Dallas Mavericks dime, but he is trying. And there is something to be commended for that. He has made the best of a situation that is awful for the person whose legacy here will be, I got traded for Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the best case scenario is recoup whatever trade value you can, play good games, go to the next spot, try to help Cooper Flag as much as you can while you're still here, be a good dude, which by all accounts he has been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope that this is something that is minimally uncomfortable for him the rest of the way, both physically and emotionally, because the guy didn't really sign up for all this stuff.
Yeah, and as, for a guy that has made a situation very uncomfortable and weird in the past in New Orleans,
yeah,
none of that.
No,
none of that. He's been a really good, upstanding teammate and citizen with the Dallas Mavericks. Let's keep doing that. Let's show that we can contribute to winning and potentially fit in on a winning team down the road, whether it is immediately, whether it is in February during the trade deadline. I think the win for him would just be get back what you put in, whatever you put into the boat, sell the boat for that or close to it, where you don't feel bad about it. Pivoting to the other side of the AAC, one of my favorite hockey players of all time, who also has a penchant for the craziest penalties, most crippling penalties of all time, Jamie Benn, back on the ice since the first time this season, 36 years old. At this point, I didn't realize we were so close in age. For a hockey man, that seems like
he's our contemporary.
He is. It was side story. His brother used to live in my building when I first moved to downtown, so I became kind of friends with Jordy Ben, nice. Which was fun. Which I don't know what he's doing now, but what's up, dude? Hope you're doing all right. Realistically, what effect is 36-year-old Jamie Benn going to have on the Stars this season?
I think there's two ways to answer it, right? There is the on-the-ice impact, which is greater than you would think for a 36-year-old whose game, this is a power forward who threw himself around a lot. This dude did not shy away from anything. He was not missing. It's been a long time since he missed games. He missed games because of a collapsed lung, which if I'm power ranking injuries I don't want, collapsed lung is real high up the list.
Right under the Jason Witten severed spleen or whatever.
Yeah, right neck and neck. So on the ice, the answer is more probably than it should be because they don't have a lot of depth at left wing past Jason Robertson, who's looked phenomenal. I think ideally he's a bottom six forward at this point, but he can still have some moments. He had some moments in last year's playoff. We are not talking about the penalties. We're talking about some actual moments of goal scoring. He can still do a job on a line, and that's what you need for a team that needs some wing depth. That's what you need over the course of a long NHL season. Just healthy bodies in the lineup right now for the Stars is really key. When Robert Tiffin was on, we talked all about how banged up this team is, right? He could do some stuff. I think the bigger picture stuff is, it was interesting. After the latest round of, we'll say, playoff hijinks last year from Jamie, Sean Shapiro, who writes for us, we'll have on the show at some point. Sean even wondered aloud, should Jamie still be captain? Is, not because this overshadows anything he did, but because he's 36, because you're going to have to do something at some point, and because do you need, when this team keeps stalling out in the conference finals, do you need a different voice in the room? But I don't think that was probably ever considered because the amount of respect that dude has. He sets the tone, and that people say that shit. Well, what does that mean? It means that when he talks and he's not a talker, everybody listens. Everybody works because that dude works. Everybody puts themselves out there and puts their bodies on the line because that dude has done it for, since he came up here a decade and a half ago. So having him in the room is a really big deal. And I think it was good in a sense that there's a silver line to him not playing. And Sean wrote this before the year, and the David Castillo, one of our other great Stars writers, followed this up. Really, the Stars need to learn because they're on a year-to-year basis with Jamie now. We don't know if he's playing next year. If he plays next year, we don't know if he's playing the year after that. It's a year at a time probably at this point. But they need to know who's really going to uphold the standard when he's gone. Who's going to be the dude in the room? And not just who's the dude in the room, but who's going to be the guy on the ice where you point to and be like, that dude brings it. And if that dude brings it like that, I got to bring it like that. And when you had that leadership vacuum, you saw a guy like a Wyatt Johnston, who we talked about last week, start stepping up even though he's 22. You saw Mikko Rantanen, who could very well be the next captain, both for skill purposes, which happens, right? We see that in hockey and soccer. Sometimes it's just the best guy has the letter. But here it's the best leader has the letter. Well, Mikko might be able to be both. And then you see this team figuring its way in a new system, but guys are playing hard. And there are times when they could sit there and feel sorry for themselves. The bottom falls out of, oh, everybody's hurt. We're going to drop 4 and 5 nights. Haven't been happening. They've won in some shaky ways, but they've won, which is what good teams do. That's the Eagles thing, right? They win. So it's good that they've kind of figured out, okay, when dad's gone, who's running the house? But now that dad's back, that's going to be key.
Yep.
Stable this thing is you keep adapting to the second Glenn Gulutzan era. Having Jamie Benn around to do that, having your captain in the room week in, week out, that matters. So I think it's going to help. I mean, this isn't going to be, Thomas Harley's out now. Thomas Harley being on the ice, that's a much bigger deal than Jamie Benn, but it still matters even at 36 years old that Jamie Benn's around.
Yeah. One of the things I heard and I didn't quite understand for a long time when I lived and worked for the Mavericks was they don't pay you for the games. They pay you for all the other shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the showing up on time.
Yeah.
It's the practices you don't want to be at. It's the discipline. It's the leadership, right? If you're good enough, you're here. You're going to make the money. They're going to give you some money for doing the thing well. What the money's for is the leadership, the discipline, the days you have no interest in putting your body through this. That's Jamie Benn.
Yeah.
That is 1,000% Jamie Benn to me at this point in his career, because he's not going to contribute a lot to the box score, most likely. And hopefully the penalties are gone, and those aren't the defining moments of his last couple of years as a Dallas Maverick or Dallas Star. The money is for all the other stuff, and that he can do.
Yeah.
Win in spades.
Yeah, and when it gets to April and it gets to May, that stuff matters a whole lot. We talked to Mavericks. We've talked to Stars. You want to talk about the Stars and the Mavericks and the most fun lawsuit that's ever existed?
Yeah, love it.
We talked a lot about this a few weeks ago. Now we're going to talk about it again because there is a plot twist, Mike Marshall.
Yeah.
Didn't see this one coming. So for those who either didn't watch the show before or need a little brush up, this all is really hinging this legal dispute on the idea that the Mavericks are suing the Stars over the fact that in their clause in the American Airlines Center, they both have to have their corporate headquarters in Dallas. Now, the Stars have had their headquarters in Frisco for a very long time. Before that, it was in Irving. Everybody knows this. But that didn't prevent the Mavericks from suing based on that. And pending the results of this lawsuit, they are acting as though they can control the AAC. They are keeping the Stars' arena proceeds in escrow, which is wild.
Crazy.
But it's happening. Well, they are back in the Texas Business Court, which is a whole other conversation about what the Texas Business Court is. But they're in court, and the Stars filed an amendment to their countersuit, which says that, well, actually, turns out the Mavs headquarters are not just not in Dallas either. They're in Las Vegas.
No, you don't live in Dallas.
No, you really don't live in Dallas. This apparently happened around the time of the sale from Mark Cuban to the Adelson family, who are based in Las Vegas.
Yep.
It would make a whole lot of sense in the vacuum that would happen. And on top of that, the Stars have also said that, hey, when we went bankrupt in 2011, which you kind of had to be party to because we shared a building together, you knew in these legal filings, and you could have contested in these legal filings the whole idea of us having our base of operations in Frisco. You didn't do it. No takebacks. Can't do it now, 15 years later, guys. So, more legal, he said, they said.
It's all getting really fun, man.
Super duper fun. You have takes on this?
Yeah. No, it feels like grotesquely Trumpian to be like, whatever you say I did, you actually did it.
But bigger. You did it more.
Yeah, but you did it more and worse.
Yeah.
I have no idea if the Mavericks ever stated that their headquarters was in Las Vegas. That seems like a silly thing to do if they did do that. But also, apparently nobody that ever signed this agreement for a center operating company had the intention of standing on any of these statements.
No, but
this is all legalese that like, one side clearly looked past, and now if the Mavs actually did state in here or in anywhere that their headquarters is in Las Vegas, that's funny and would make people freak out a little bit. But also, it'd be an ultimate gotcha.
Yeah,
like no, you're not in Dallas. Actually, you're in Las Vegas. Dallas Sports Group. What are you doing in Las Vegas?
Are they moving the team?
Yeah, are they moving the team? Is my favorite conspiracy theory.
They're not moving the team, guys. Nobody's moving from Market 4 to Market 40. Nobody's doing that. Less than 15 years after a team won a title. I promise you. It's not happening.
Not happening. But the thing I've thought about since this came to light is, yes, getting into these little trappings, legal trappings, and having power over center operating company and the AAC could definitely benefit the Mavericks, right? Yeah. We talked about how they could force the city to kind of do whatever they want, have a little quid pro quo of, maybe City Hall's not going to be there pretty soon. Be pretty neat to have a building there, and just make those conversations a lot easier. What I've started wondering is, when are the Stars going to fight back? And one of the things that's been stuck in my mind for a while is, if I'm the Stars, I'm kind of just debating how messy I want this to be and how ugly I want this to be. Because if I'm the Stars, and I know there's a lot of stuff that's gone on with the Mavs over the last decade.
Really?
Or in the last, let's say, 26 years of them having this agreement with center operating company. I think almost anything that has to do with the arena, the ownership, the headquarters, can be called into question if the Stars want to say, you know what? We're not doing business court anymore. We're doing big boy court. And we're going to have some discovery, and I'm going to ask for some documents and some outlining of what exactly happened during, I don't know, maybe the SI scandal. Or maybe what happened during the Adelson and Mark Cuban exchange of the franchise that made everything so confusing. You traded a big player. Maybe I need to know about that. As your business partner, don't I need to know about these things?
The arena's been hurt a little bit on your game nights when you did that. Maybe I should know what you did.
Hey, if you want to be the Stars and you want to make things really messy and get really nasty, I think you can say, you know what? It's gotten to a point where I'm not really interested in talking through business court on this. We're going to go to like a legitimate court, and I'm going to ask for discovery on a lot of stuff that you don't want to talk about or that you thought was buried. And that can be extremely embarrassing, probably for both sides, to be honest.
Yeah, it could be. How nuclear do you want to go?
But the Mavs have some pretty big warts in their past that people already know about, that I don't want to hear more about personally. I don't want to hear more about.
No, it's not anybody's interest.
Nobody wants that.
Right.
But if you want to be that kind of guy, I think the Stars could be that kind of guy in the room.
Yeah, I mean, this just feels like this has to get to a point where somebody, whether it's a court or whether it's a city, or somebody's just got to be like, guys, you can divorce, like, you're going to get divorced in 5 years. Can we just play nice, get along, and just pretend that this is fine so none of us have to deal with this? Because nobody's winning here.
No, this is really bad.
This is a bad look for everybody involved. I'm really curious about the last time we talked about this, and we've written about it on the site too. It was very obvious that the city was taking the Maverick side, and that was when there was less out there to call into question the Mavericks' position. Now that there's even more stuff that says, hey, maybe your legal ground isn't as solid as you think it is.
Yeah.
What does the city do? Because it doesn't change the fact that the city still needs the Mavericks just as much as they did a month ago.
Yeah.
Right? This is still, Stars still aren't looking like they're sticking around. You still have to keep one of these four teams in your city, or you're the only big market in the country that doesn't have one of your big sports teams in your city. The city council's voting to take a look at blowing up City Hall. I can't think of another good reason to do it unless you put in the basketball arena, to the degree that that's even a good reason, which it's not, but you know. So I'm curious if this keeps going, this keeps dragging out, regardless of who's right, how far is the city willing to publicly back the Mavericks in this, even if it gets to be a worse and worse and worse look because they can't afford to alienate the Mavericks? And that's just going to make everything bad for everybody too. So I just hope this gets done. This isn't fun to talk about. This isn't fun to experience. Nobody's having a good time here.
It feels like maybe the Stars have found something with that 2011 bankruptcy filing, because you probably have to agree to a completely new agreement once a bankruptcy is filed by one party, I would think. And at that point, if you don't realign the terminology on there, or say, actually, point of order, this thing, you're not doing this. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's my lawyer voice, by the way.
It's a great lawyer voice. You sound like you're like,
if you don't correct it at that time, whenever the other party is like hurtling towards bankruptcy and having to redraw the lines, I don't think you just need to get a chance to bring it up 15 years later.
Yeah, I agree with this.
I think that's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to go the way that I think the Stars could take it.
No.
At all. I think that everybody loses, but we're in a death spiral right now in this situation, and I don't know when it stops. I mean, there's a hearing, I feel like it's like every week. It feels like the Zeke court case at this point, where it's like every Friday I'm like, what's the new stuff? Is he playing?
New docs just dropped.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know when this gets resolved in business court, which sounds super fun.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's bad for everybody, and I think Dallas is going to get the worst of it. Quite frankly,
yeah, that sucks. Want to talk some fun? You want to talk some football?
I would love to talk some football. I love football.
I love fun.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. Let's get Ishmael Johnson on here in a minute.
Let's do it.
Joining us now, the great Ishmael Johnson. You've known him from Dave Campbell's before. You know him from D Magazine now, where he's been covering SMU for us. But this dude knows everything about football in Texas. And you're here because we need a little reality check. You need you to
heat check.
Heat check. Yeah, that's it. We threw up a heater the other week. We need somebody who's a pro to make sure we are not losing our minds.
Okay.
We live in a world where UNT is ranked for the first time since the 50s. We live in a world.
22, baby.
We live in a
22.
world. We live in a world where SMU, as you eloquently pointed out in last week's piece, has a road back to the conference title game in the ACC for the second time in as many years in the conference. Mm-hmm. We live in a world where TCU is still pretty damn good, even if things aren't quite what they were 3 years ago.
Sure.
We think this is a golden age for college football in the greater North Texas area. Are you buying what we're selling?
Yes, I think so. I think if you count this year, even going back a little bit to last year, because UNT kind of laid the groundwork the past couple of years, and they made their first bowl game in a while last year, and then obviously headlined by SMU, right, making the playoff. But even before that, TCU first year under Sonny Dykes, kind of like all of a sudden getting a vibe shift after years of Gary Patterson, right? The Sonny Dykes comes in and is like, hey, why don't we just throw the ball a little bit more and have some fun and do things a little differently?
Do stuff.
Yeah. And it's like all this talent that ends up in the NFL now, they're like, oh my God, this is actually fun. We actually like being around. Like the funniest thing being at TCU when that vibe shift happened was like everybody in the building was like, like it's like everybody's like eyes, they just start smiling more. It's like, man, this is great. Like football's fun, right? But yeah, it started then and then carried over to now. And now you're living, like you mentioned, in an era where two teams from North Texas, including North Texas, could be in the college football playoff, which is, I thought North Texas would be a lot better this year. This is far beyond what I had imagined.
Speaking my language, let's stick with the mean green,
Sure,
the number 22 overall mean green. Man, this is a season that I haven't seen in a long time from them since I think my freshman year, which is 1,000 years ago. I remember walking on campus and I was like, we're going to be good at football forever.
This is great. 4 more years of this.
New Orleans Bowl, Patrick Cobb, Mario Thomas. Like, we're just going to rush for 80,000 yards every year. But okay, 9-1.
Yep.
Ranked 22nd and 23rd in the other poll for the first time since 1959. This is pretty badass, man. I mean, I watch all the games, and it doesn't look that different than what I've seen in the past. It's just, I don't know. How are they doing this?
Yeah, I think Eric Morris is finally on the national stage introduced himself as one of the best offensive play callers and quarterback developers in the country. Obviously, people were going to point to Cam Ward, right? First guy, only school to offer him was Incarnate Word, and he takes him with him to Washington State, where he kind of takes another level. And so and then obviously Eric Morris took Incarnate Word to what they are now, which is kind of a perennial flirting with the playoff FCS program. Mm-hmm. And it was always an intriguing hire to me because there was a lot of Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously, they both come from Tech. I think he was Kingsbury's offensive coordinator there. So there was obvious this, like, is he another Kingsbury where the offense is just awesome, right, but you can have Patrick Mahomes and win 6 games? You know, like, is it just that kind of thing? And originally it kind of was looking that way, where it was like, oh, man, they brought in Chandler Rogers and he's throwing for all these yards, and then they're giving up, as many back on the other end. Yeah. And then last year with Chandler Morris, and it was like, oh my gosh, same thing. And then he made the move that I think Cliff Kingsbury never made, which is he made the defensive coordinator hire that basically showed that he's serious about fixing that side of the ball. I think Cliff Kingsbury, I think he hired David Gibbs as like in for Tech, and that was kind of like, we're going to play this wild offense, and the defense may never be able to catch up, but so we just need to like create turnovers and like do all this exotic stuff. Yeah,
big things.
Yeah, exactly. The defense may never catch their breath ever, but like we just need somebody and obviously that was never going to work. Eric Morris was like, okay, let's run the ball a little more. let's maybe give the defense a little bit there, and let's give them a guy who, in Skylar Cassidy from Sam Houston, who is one of the youngest, brightest defensive minds probably in the country now. You look at Sam Houston now, obviously Casey Keeler, their head coach, left, but Skylar Cassidy in that defense was a big part of why they won the games they did last year. They have fallen apart. And you look at what he's built in North Texas, it's not a world beater of a defense, but I said this last year. If that team had an average defense, they'd be competing for the American. They have a pretty good defense, and they're competing for a playoff spot. And so I think there's so many things that Eric Morris has done smartly, not just he's continued to be a great play caller, a great offensive coordinator as well, but he's now fixed a lot of the holes that I think, even going back to the good days of Seth Luttrell, that were kind of missing there, right? The defense wasn't always there with Seth Luttrell. The offensive line wasn't always there. And Eric Morris has kind of built that up. In addition to continuing to now, I mean, we can talk about Drew Mestemaker, like a guy who did not take a high school varsity starting snap, all of a sudden is looking like, I hate the way that.
How do you figure that out?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm thinking about last week we talked about, I was like, the guys that played on my high school team that didn't start.
Yeah.
A college coach is not seeing them. They are not seeing them unless they come to a practice for some weird reason.
I was about to say, he was a walk-on. He just walked onto the team, and he battled his way. I think when he checked into the game last year, I think it was Chandler Morris was knocked out for something, or it might have been a helmet off or something. And it was like, oh, Drew Mestemaker's in the game. I was like, they have other quarterbacks. I remember
he was like fourth on the depth chart at large stretches of last year.
And so I was like, this is their second string quarterback. I was like, sure, okay. Like I thought it was a moment where it was like Eric Morris has too much dip on his chin, where he's just like, I'm going to throw the walk-on out there. And like you saw some stuff, and then the bowl game happened, and I was like, oh, I went to Texas State, and so like I saw they were starting Drew Mestemaker. I was like, that's such a weird move. I don't know about that. And like for 80% of that game, I'm like, why is he just carving through this Texas State defense? Like, what's happening here? And then the moment that I realized that they really do believe in this guy was when I forgot his name, but the transfer quarterback they brought in was Cam Ward's backup. He wasn't exactly Chandler Morris, right? He wasn't Chandler Rogers, who started at ULM. He was somebody who, I think he was a pretty good FCS player, but I think he played for Albany. But he was not somebody who would come in to UNT and demand the starting job. And immediately I was like, oh, they just want a reliable, like, potential veteran backup or potential guy if he beats him out, you can start plug and play. And I think like, oh, Mestemaker's going to have a shot at this. And when it was announced that he was a starter, I was like, wow, like, okay, like they really trust this guy. Now, I should say, people look back at Vandergrift High School and they're like, why didn't Mestemaker start? Deuce Adams is also in contention to start at Louisville right now at times. So like that's who was starting over him. It's kind of like a Kyle Trask, De'Aaron King situation at Manville, where it's like the backups. It doesn't change the fact that you don't know what you have in this kid.
Yeah.
But regardless, he's been a revelation. And the thing that I think Eric Morris isn't getting enough credit for is the surrounding talent that he's built up slowly. Right. He has put I think when he got the job, a lot of the money that he's not one of the highest paid head coaches in the American. I think he foregoed a lot to invest a lot in the staff, right? He has a big support staff. And I think in part he put a lot into scouting because he basically was like, in the transfer portal era, we're going to obviously patch some things with guys who didn't work out at UT, things like that. Skylar Cassidy brought a lot of guys from Sam Houston. But eventually we're going to go play money ball a little bit with some of these recruits, right? We're going to go get the high 3 stars, the maybe mid 3 stars that may not have a ceiling of a power 4, but he's going to kill it at this level. And you're seeing that guy now with guys like Caleb Hawkins, Miles Coleman at wide receiver, who is a 5'6" wide receiver, but also played with Drew Mestemaker. Oops, I hit the mic there. Sorry about that. Who also played with Drew Mestemaker at Vandergrift. And when I saw that Vandergrift team make a state title in 6A, their number one target was Miles Coleman at 5'5", 5'6", whatever he is, 5'7". And I'm like, he's not going to go to Texas, right?
Yeah.
But this is a kid who is just blazing fast, and he could play somewhere. And Eric Morris was like, yeah, sure, why not?
He can play here.
Yeah, and he can play here, and he's been great. He's their return man. He's one of their top receivers. He's just like, he's that guy that you just want to get the ball in anyway. Yeah. And it's guys like that they've been able to acquire over the past couple of years. And now it's, year 3 under Morris. Now it's like, okay, let's unleash these guys. Mestemaker seems like the best case scenario possibly you could turn out for that position. And the schedule broke their way too. It's not a difficult schedule now, especially in his back half, to where they can run the table and probably make the American championship.
Yeah. You've alluded to the real question of what this is like in 2025 because you can find these pieces and you could build the offensive line in a way that Seth Luttrell couldn't 7 years ago. Even if you manage to do all those things, you have to sustain these things.
Yeah.
And so, spoiler for the Good D Magazine subscribers watching the show right now, for our December issue, I profiled Raj Murthy, who is the general manager at UNT. He is 24. He is the youngest dude in major college football in his role.
Our young king.
The king of Mike Marshall's heart. And what he told me was he's like, look, every year we are expecting to turn over 30 to 40 spots. That is how this is going to be. And they don't run from that. They expect that. Now, that's all well and good that you have to be rational in that line of work and you have to accept that this is the world you're in. But for bozos like us on the outside, how sustainable is this? Because this feels like a special thing, but can you have special little things in college football in a world where there's so much money in the game and so much roster poaching?
Yeah, that's going to be the big mystery because outside of, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about like the Tulanes, right? You see Memphis and the FedEx money, right?
Yeah.
Outside of those, probably handful of programs in the group of 5 or I guess group of 6, that is a question, right? Like in certain terms of like, if you find Texas State, for example, I mentioned I'm a graduate from Texas State, covered them for a long time. Their starting center is now the Oregon starting center, right? And so like Alex Harkey was like a great find, started as a freshman. All of a sudden, Oregon's like, yeah, we'll just take that, right?
Yeah, throw some Nike money that way.
Yeah, their starting running back is Arizona's starting running back, right? So it's like, and of course, UNT fans know that, right? Chandler Rogers, immediately gone. Chandler Morris, immediately gone, right? Wide receivers, gone. All these different things. That's going to be I feel like there's a bubble coming, right? In terms of like, I feel like eventually the top is going to take their ball and go home. We're seeing private equity come and talks with the Big Ten, all this stuff. But eventually, like, yeah, the group of 5 and the group of 6 is going to have to figure out if that is sustainable, right? Because you're putting all this work in and to be fair, not everybody's going to leave, right? UNT has some money. They're able to, I'm assuming a lot of it's going to go to Drew Mestamaker, but like they're able to make competitive pitches to these guys to say, hey, why don't you stay for another year? Especially if you're a sophomore, you can stay till you're a junior, then maybe 1 year elsewhere after that, and we can maybe have a run at this conference in the playoff. But outside of that pitch, it's hard to say. It's hard to, if you're 20, 21 years old, somebody says, yeah, here's $1 million, here's $700,000, $500,000 to come, you maybe not even start, be a backup. You can be a backup making $500K. That's awesome. You're about to see, I think we're now in the midst of like what these GMs at these group of 6, group of 5 programs are going to be kind of tasked with, which is probably poaching a little bit the FCS, right? That's where you're going to have to see that kind of movement, because you see it at the top as well, right? You see guys leaving Texas, going to LSU, you're leaving LSU, going to wherever. Coaches do that, right? Brian Kelly going from Notre Dame to LSU. You may see Lane Kiffin go somewhere. It's just constant movement, but now it's these GM roles are going to become pivotal because now you have to have somebody monitoring your own team morale, your own squad, but also like who can you big brother lower than you, right? If North Texas, I mentioned Sam Houston, North Texas, that's both group of 6, but one was able to poach from the other, right? Yeah. It's kind of a dog eat dog right now. And we're kind of, until there's some regulation as far as like NIL, this comes into like labor talks, and like this is what the NCAA does not want, because that eventually results in these guys getting called employees and like
collective bargaining solves all of this, but they don't want to go there.
Exactly, collective bargaining solves all this, because the second you sign a national letter of intent and an NIL deal, boom, you're locked in for 2 years, right, or 3 years, whatever. Yeah. But all of a sudden that revolves in you having workers' rights and all these different things, and that's not what the NCAA wants. So eventually, I think we will get there, because eventually we're going to see all these schools be like, we can't keep bringing in 30 kids every year in addition to high schoolers because we need to field a roster. And eventually administration is going to get tired of that, right? It's not just a coach thing. It's an administration thing. Jared Mosley is going to get tired of saying, having to sell Eric Morris. If Eric Morris comes out and wins 6 games next year because he had to replace 40 guys, like Jared Mosley, that's not going to look good on Jared Mosley, the athletic director. He's going to be like, well, guys, like we had to do all that. He's going to get sick of it. So eventually I think we will get to that moment, but it's going to be a lot of push and pull. A lot of power brokers are not going to want to lose that. And I hate that that's kind of coming into college football, because as somebody who went to, a school not at the top, I've always loved this about college football, is that there are reasons for me to care that aren't the national title. Right. But unfortunately, with the expansion of the playoff, that's where we are now. And like, everybody wants the national title. Everybody has a shot now. So like, it's either that or nothing anymore. And it's, and
that rips the soul out of the sport. As somebody who did go to I went to USC, but now they are jostling over whether to keep playing Notre Dame, which is like one of the iconic rivalries in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
But it's, does that help us get to the playoff? And it's like, that's not what this is supposed to be.
Right. And so eventually it all boils down to that. So, but long story short, like UNC fans, enjoy the ride, because like you don't know how this is going to go next year, right? This isn't, again, I mentioned UNT has money, but like it's not a Memphis, it's not a Tulane to where they can poach peer teams and all that. So enjoy the ride, because like right now, I feel like you guys control your own destiny, even though Tulane I think is the highest ranked, which is there's some weird overlaps there that I don't know why they're ahead of UNT. But if they make the title game, like, I mean, it's essentially going to be a play-in game, because it doesn't look like the Sun Belt champ's going to be in that picture. They may be, I mean, outside of Georgia Tech, like ACC is going to be a little bit behind in the rankings. So, enjoy the ride is what I'll say, like genuinely.
Taking that a step further, I have no illusion that we're going to be TCU. And when I say we at North Texas,
yes,
go me. I have no illusion that we're going to be at TCU or at Texas or compete against, teams that are perennially ranked in the top 25 or even close. But to get to the level of a Tulane, of a Memphis, where you can pencil in, hey, we're going to make a bowl this year. Like, I guarantee you, it just depends on if we're hot or if our coach is, on rhythm with the team, that type of stuff. How does a UNT get there besides just flat out? Because the money's never going to be able to slap there's $5 million, solve it.
Right.
How does UNT get there?
Yeah, I think it's involved with positioning themselves for these, we're about to enter another era of new media rights. And so like, whatever that looks like for the American, I think that will help when they become full members. Right now, the new members have been kind of living on half money. So like, when they become full members and then whatever that new deal is renegotiated to be, that will help a lot. It's going to be about, I do think that they've shown in almost every sport the ability to want to get better, right? Firing Seth Luttrell, in my opinion, was a perfect sign of them wanting to get better. They could have easily been like, he wins 6 games every year, it's fine. Like, who cares? He may win 8 every 3 years or something. We'll be okay. They wanted more, and I think that getting the boosters that maybe got disillusioned under Seth Luttrell, because you saw that stadium kind of dissipate, right? You saw that there was a couple of years where that stadium looked depressing, and it was like they were pretty good. Like, it wasn't like they were an awful team.
The post-Mason Fine crash.
Right, exactly. Because like, and it was weird because like they weren't a bad team, but it was like you just knew they were not going to compete for the American. You just knew that there was a hard ceiling, and they were going to go to some bowl down the street, maybe, right? At that point, it was even
Armed Forces Bowl, pencil it in.
Exactly,
But it is tough. As someone that really wants to be interested in North Texas football each year, whenever Seth was there, and you're like, okay, Seth Luttrell, 25-year-old quarterback, defense is going to be leaky as hell. How much fun am I going to have?
Right, and you're going to win 21-17 if you do, or if you lose, it's 38-10. It's embarrassing. So I think it's about, now you look at the stadium, and all of a sudden, boom, like it's rocking. Right?
Sold out for the first time.
Yeah, not just for the USF game either. Like the Navy game was awesome. Like it was like genuinely really, really cool. And it's about bringing that energy and getting those disillusioned boosters and those disillusioned people back into the fold. I believe they just got their single donation from a boost. So like more of that. Again, you'll never, unless there's a FedEx somewhere around like Memphis has, like you'll never get that money. But like, that's how you sustain things, and that's how we can talk about Texas Tech, but like you never know who graduated from UNT, right? You never know who is going to strike it big, who went there, right? Texas Tech with Cody Campbell, right? He just sold double.
So what I'm hearing is we're going to make the show bigger than the moon, and Mike Marshall is going to bankroll the whole team.
Exactly, right?
You can have all my money.
That's the dream, right?
That's how we're going to do this.
I mean, look,
and Stone Cold. And the guy from Wings.
Honestly, you should get there's a certain mattress salesman down in Houston who forgets he went to UNT a bunch of times.
Interesting.
He's bankrolled Houston all these years.
I'm going to go shout him out on social media and we put some pressure on.
You guys go into business together. He's going to front 98% of the money. You got a cool 2%.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's always funny because it's like, Mattress Mac, he just gave the University of Houston. I was like, he went to UNT.
I did not know this.
Mattress Mac went to UNT.
I didn't know that either.
Apparently some back some again disillusionment within some frustration. But it's like, man, he's like a Houston icon. It's like, yeah, he's a mean green.
He's a Denton boy.
So, but like getting people again, not saying he's going to come back, but like getting people like that who have connections. It's the DFW area. There are people with money who went to UNT. That's how you get back. That's how you get back into the fold. Again, like you mentioned, you're never going to be Texas. There's they can just go trip over $1 billion and just like fun for the next 10 years, but. That's how TCU slowly got built, right? Like it wasn't overnight. They came from the Mountain West. They got their lucky break and went to the Big 12. Right? I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but like with all this realignment, you never know who's trying to break into the market. Texas State just got to just got invited to the new Pac-12, which is not the old Pac-12. But if you would have told me 10 years ago that Texas State's going to the Pac-12, I would have been like, "What's happening?" So again, even if the Pac-12 is just a new version of the American, that's still something that's like people want Texas so bad. The UNT area, the DFW area is so appealing that you never know. SMU was able to say, "Yeah, we'll pay our way 10 years into the ACC," right? You never know. Opportunity can come knocking, and something can happen.
We're just all broadcasting alumni, though, or all the alumni are just broadcasting majors. So we don't have any money.
Again, until this show explodes.
Yeah, I'm banking a lot on that.
Yeah. A bunch of news stations around could really fund you guys. Every news station in the state.
Leading off every sportscast with $0 contributed.
Exactly. Okay, so you mentioned SMU. They have a lot of resources.
Yes.
They could be back in the ACC title game. You wrote about that last week.
Yep.
We will spare the people the long version because it broke our brains working on this piece together.
I got a part wrong, which credit to the SMU fan. We ended up fixing it on the article, but I did end up getting it wrong because there was so much convolution in there that like the third scenario was actually not correctly interpreted. So I went back and it
turns out overall
crazy.
Points is not a secondary or tertiary tiebreaker in the ACC. That's where we're at.
Overall record of your opponents played.
Yeah. Anyways,
awesome.
y'all don't need all those details on this show, but give the people the short version. How does SMU get back playing for the ACC title?
They need Louisville losing helped a lot. They have a massive game against Louisville this weekend. Louisville's out, right? So, like, I believe Louisville is the hardest game on their schedule remaining. They do need one more loss, I believe. I don't think it'll come with Georgia Tech. I believe Duke
lost to UVA.
Duke lost to UVA. They need UVA to lose.
Yeah.
I believe they need UVA to lose, which is possible, not probable, because UVA has Virginia Tech, who doesn't have a head coach. I guess they technically do, but not somebody coaching. But right now, that's looking Georgia Tech and UVA looks like the ACC title game. If one of those teams lose, then SMU is back into the picture. But it was that Wake Forest lost, right? That was the event. That was the one that did SMU in, which ironically came after I wrote about their win streak in the ACC. It was like, oh, they haven't lost a game in conference in the regular season. This is great.
And then 48 hours later, the Ishmael jinx.
Yes.
That's it.
14-10 or 13-10, whatever that game was, which ironically, Wake Forest also beat UVA, handed them their only loss. So they've been like a boogeyman to like random contending teams. So, hope for just one more loss between one of those teams, and all of a sudden SMU is back in the picture. So
there you go.
It can happen. It can happen. SMU has been, like you mentioned, speaking of disillusionment, right? A program that had complete disillusionment from the dissolving of the program. Now everybody's back on board, and all of a sudden they can forego 10 years of media rights deals because they have they have so much money. So.
Yeah. Whether or not they get there or not, we'll see. But. Rhett's here for a while.
Yes.
Rhett Lashley, head coach. Just re-upped, right?
Yes, just re-upped.
Do you think he's there for the long term? And also, is SMU going to be like this for a while? Are they going to be knocking on the door top 25 ACC title contenders long term?
I think right now it's helped that, and I wrote this in my piece as well, like it's helped that a lot of the ACC hasn't figured things out yet, right? Virginia Tech's hoping they figured it out with James Franklin. Florida State, we'll see whatever they do with Mike Norvell if they just choose to move on. So, like, the traditional power is outside of Miami, and Clemson's kind of falling away. So, like, Miami's really the only traditional power that's, like, really sustained itself since SMU.
And you can always bank on Mario Cristobal to shoot himself in the foot
at
least once, probably twice.
Exactly. You can always bank on Miami to not make the title game because they do something very dumb. So, with that being said, until there's any signs of these programs figuring it out, UVA looks like potentially maybe they're ranked right now. Duke, we'll see. There's kind of some.
I was about to say, don't doubt my real friend Manny Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
you know Manny.
My
Diaz.
guy. I do know Manny Diaz.
Yeah, Duke's really figuring it out, but it's like it's kind of a hodgepodge in the middle of teams kind of like crabs in the bucket, where it's like, oh, well, you're getting a little better. We'll make sure you don't get too high on your own supply or whatever. But SMU has taken advantage of that. Mm-hmm. They've been the team to be in alignment with funding in all sports, right? Like basketball, they just made a great hire in women's basketball with Adia Barnes from Arizona. And the fact that they have big pockets, they can be the team that locks down Red Lashley, even though his alma mater is open now, right? Even though a school that his mentor, Auburn, may open or is open now, right? They can be the team to be like, do you want to get involved in that chaos? No. Or do you want to just be here where we're going to be a top 3 to 4 team every single year, and you're going to have as much money as you want, and it's not going to matter, right? It's not going to matter about, even if Miami figures it out, we're going to give you the money to eventually be there, right? To eventually be at that level. I think it's about I think they got the right guy in Rhett Lashley. He's built that roster from what Sonny Dykes originally did. We'll talk about TCU in a bit, but Sonny Dykes helped establish that. I don't think any SMU fan's gonna ignore that fact. But Rhett Lashley's taken it to another level where it's like offense is his thing, his calling card. That side of the ball has been excellent. He's hired Scott Simons, which I'm curious about the defensive coordinator hire if he ever leaves. Scott Simons for a head coaching job. They've been great since he's made that. Since he's been there. And the resources. I mean, I can't get enough about how coaches are weird in general in terms of aspiration, right? Every coach thinks they can be the one to fix, whatever, see Texas before Steve Sarkisian, right? I'm the coach that can bring Texas back. I
can fix her.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Florida now, right? He's like, Florida's a mess. It's like, but I can be the one. Yeah.
Right? It's that Arrested Development meme.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't work for anybody else, but what did it did for us?
For me, But I think Rhett Lashley showed is I don't need to see if I can fix Auburn. We're great right now. And especially because if you go to the SEC, are you going to have a lot of resources? Yeah, but so is everybody else, right? And eventually at the SEC, you're going to see that there's a ceiling, right? You're never going to have LSU or Texas or Alabama funding at certain places, and if you don't have that funding, you fall to the bottom, and all of a sudden, 7 wins gets you fired. And I think there's a comfortability to the fact that SMU can come out, miss the playoff this year, maybe win let's say win 9 games next year. His job's not on the line, right? But they know that after a 9-win season, all right, here's some more money. Go to the portal a little bit, right? You can poach guys from Miami like he did to fix the defense. You could hold on to guys like Kevin Jennings when he has a great breakout year last year, to where you can sell Preston Stone, the guy they originally thought would be this prodigal son of Dallas. He goes off. And he's like, yeah, fine, you can leave, right? We got Kevin Jennings. So it's going to be, they've kind of taken TCU's place in terms of that pole position, and I don't think TCU expected that when they made that move to the ACC. And that's been a very interesting dynamic considering, obviously, the head coaches of both teams.
Yeah, let's talk Kevin Jennings because he has stuck around twice at SMU when a lot of other teams have been after him. Now the decision, in theory, he can turn pro. I feel like at this point that's not likely. He's probably coming back next year. What have you seen this year? Last year was the big breakout. This year has been the follow-up. Have you seen progress, and what should the hope be for next year in a world where I feel like everybody was sitting here thinking, oh, man, this 26 draft class for quarterbacks, there are going to be so many, and now it's shifted to there's 2 who are okay, but there's going to be 40 next year.
Yeah, it's you're looking at Fernando Mendoza, I guess.
Ty Simpson, been a beautiful 8 starts. Yeah, exactly. I've had a lot of fun in those 8 starts.
Exactly.
But Kevin Jennings, he kind of throw his name in the hat probably next year. Yeah. What does year 2 of being the dude at SMU look like for him relative to year 1?
I think it's been really good. I think that the numbers maybe aren't, he's not lighting the world on fire that I think maybe some people hoped he would have. But I think that comes from a lot of the inconsistencies of the team, especially to start the year, right? They were 2-2 in non-conference. Defensively, they were putting a lot of holes. So, especially against TCU, he was pressing a lot to kind of make up some ground because the defense wasn't getting stops early on. Now it's kind of leveled off, and he's been pretty good. I think you look at last year, he didn't get the job officially until conference, I believe. They were doing the 2-quarterback thing with him and Preston Stone. It just wasn't working out. He gets plugged in, boom, all of a sudden the team takes off. Obviously, what happens. And people have to realize that this is the first year he's coming in as the starter. As the starting quarterback, this is the first year. And he's already ahead of his pace from last year, well ahead, right? I don't think he or Preston Stone looked good when they were trading snaps last year. Neither could get in a rhythm. I think the offense looked bad as a whole. But I think he's looked like a guy who's in his first year, but there's reason for promise, right? He's sometimes does a little too much, right? There's sometimes where you should throw the ball away. I was texting some of my friends who in recruiting where I was like, there's a little Shador in him where it's like he holds onto the ball a little bit too much. And it's like, that's not the offensive line's fault. That's your fault. Things like that. But with that being said, you see why they want him in that position because he's so cool-headed at a lot of times. Like I said, he holds on to the ball because he's like, it's fine. Like, I got this. And going back to, I followed him since his senior year at South Oak Cliff. And I was at the game where it was very funny. I think it was against Lucas Lovejoy in the regional final. And I saw him throw. I was on the sideline. I was staying next to Mike Roach for 247. And we were both watching. And at that time, he was committed to Missouri State, right? Mm-hmm. Regional final in state championships. And this quarterback's going to Missouri State. And we saw him throw a ball on the move, on a rope, like perfectly past two defenders into a small window. Boom. And like the guy caught it right in front of us. And we look at each other and we're like, we look down at the Missouri State recruiter that was there, and we're like, he knows he lost it. Like,
you can go home.
Yeah.
And if you want to find out more about that journey, you could go check out dmagazine.com, where in August I profiled Kevin Jennings.
There you go.
Chilling.
Great story. Great piece. But yeah, we looked at him. We're like, that Missouri State guy needs to leave right now. And sure enough, like SMU's offer came, and so seeing like him go from that moment to winning, Dallas ISD's first state title since the 50s. To SMU's ACC title game when he won that one, and then the Iron Skillet and his first Iron Skillet. Then like he only won big games up to that point, right? And you saw the intangibles that you could see why Rhett Lashley was like, yeah, Preston Stone 4-star, you can leave, right? Mm-hmm. It's the Colin Cowherd meme where it's like, yeah, you can go. It's like Kevin Jennings is here, you can go. Yeah. And we kind of see he made the right choice. We see Preston Stone struggling right now in Northwestern. He hasn't been that great. But yeah, I think that Kevin Jennings next year is going to be the year. I think he takes that leap into like dark horse Heisman, maybe preseason dark horse Heisman candidate. I think they'll also revamp the wide receivers a little bit, right? That's been the issue a lot of times, is like he hasn't had as reliable of maybe you would expect of a Rhett Lashley team with skill position in terms of on the outside. And so I think this year's going to be a big year for them in terms of like revamping that side, getting a more reliable run game as well, which of course they lost Brashard Smith to the NFL, and truly building it around Kevin Jennings. I think next year's going to be that massive, massive leap for him.
So the middle child in this Metroplex equation is the team that pops up every once a decade and challenges for the playoff or even a national championship. We're talking about the TCU Horned Frogs. Man, it was such good times, like 24 months ago. What's happened to all the good vibes and the momentum that TCU had?
I think that national title appearance, I think, set them off course. I think if you would have, let's erase. TCU fans are going to freak out, but I'm going to say, let's erase that national title appearance.
The best thing you've done in decades.
It's my whole personality.
Let's erase that. Yeah, let's erase that. And let's say Sonny Dykes starts by going 5-7 his first year. Everybody's like, we had to tear it down from Gary Patterson, right? It's understandable. Then they win 9 games last year. And now they're winning 6-4, maybe win 7 or 8, right? You're going to be like, okay, cool, that's fine, but we're building, and next year is going to be the year. Well, obviously you add that 11-2 to start the year, and then you see 5-7. It's like, well, we're supposed to compete for national titles. What's happening? I think it showed how Gary Patterson's talent evaluation did not fall off because he had a roster that was capable of making a national title.
For sure.
His coaching fell off. His development fell off. And I mentioned the vibe shift with Sonny Dykes. Obviously, everybody's like dark cloud hanging over. Gary Patterson doesn't do media. It's a no to everything, right? Don't do anything. All of a sudden, Sonny Dykes comes in. Yeah, you guys can come in. You can hang out with us, open practice or whatever, all these different things. Everybody's happy, right? They're throwing the ball a lot more. It's an open offense, all these different things. Garrett Riley has it cooking, and Joe Gillespie's defense is like flying all over the field. So it's like, man, they're making a lot of plays. And Quentin Johnston turns into the first-round wide receiver that everybody wanted him to be. Max Duggan, who I did not think was a college quarterback 2 years before, goes to New York.
Heisman runner-up. Yeah.
And so all that happens, and then all of a sudden, everybody leaves. It goes to the NFL, and so it's like
all of that defense.
All of that defense
is gone, man.
I'm trying to think. 2 running backs, I believe, led into the NFL, and DeMarcado and Kendrick Miller.
Yeah.
Quentin Johnson, of course, Max Duggan. So it's like, okay, well, you got to replace all of that. Chandler Morris ends up not being the guy, right? And so that ends up not working out. They end up going to Josh Hoover, who's proven to be the guy. They haven't figured out the wide receivers since then. Jack Besh was nice last year, but like he left, obviously. Savion Williams, same way. They have not figured out the defense at all. They brought in Avalos to kind of fix that because they hung on to Joe Gillespie again. Didn't work out. They let him go. The biggest misstep, I think, was Sonny Dykes. He had a lot of goodwill when he came in, and then he hired Kendall Briles to run the offense. And you have a lot of I know TCU fans who stopped cheering for the team when they hired Kendall Briles. And it's like, not only was he involved in all of that happened to Baylor, you brought in the guy who like Baylor and TCU hated each other.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like you brought in the guy who was a part of that program and the reason why you hated that program for so long. Now he's running the offense. And then the offense falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
Right? They become like one of the worst executing offenses in the red zone I've ever seen. Garrett Riley, again, he hasn't exactly lit it on fire in Clemson, but like you saw what Garrett Riley was capable of, and you thought you'd be having a guy who could be there for a while and cooking up the new quarterback and all. And they've been okay, right? But it meant it hurts that you had that leap and then a hard crash, and then now it's been a slow build, confounded by the fact that 2 other things happened. SMU, your arch rival, is now shot to the top of their conference, and Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12, and Tech has taken their place.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
and that left a power vacuum when Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12. Everybody was like, "What happens now?" Right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people thought TCU was going to be the ones filling the power vacuum.
TCU, Kansas State, Utah, maybe, and it was like, okay, those teams are going to be the ones to take those places because they've been the good teams. Oklahoma State, right? They've been the good teams for a long time in that conference. So therefore, this is the new power nexus. Well, what's happened? Tech, Arizona State, or at least for a year, it was fun. Colorado, right, for a year. BYU, right? It's been like the new bloods coming in. You're like, and now Houston. Now you're seeing Houston was like Houston started behind TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Now Houston's ranked, and Houston's signing the best quarterback in the country. And it's like, what's happening there? Ty Hawkins, who was committed to TCU,
goes to SMU.
So it's like you're seeing these little things like that, compounding the fact that they're not winning as much as they were in Sonny Dykes' first year. That I think is making hot seat's the wrong word, but it's starting to get a little toasty because of the things surrounding him.
Yeah.
And especially when you hired SMU's head coach to come coach TCU and SMU's taken off.
Yeah.
And so I think that next year's going to be very interesting because I do think they've tried to take some swings in the portal. It hasn't worked out. Like I think they tried to get there was a wide receiver from Alabama who was from Alito. They brought back home. Did not work out. Tommy Brockermeyer, who was a 5-star left tackle, injury issues. He went to Alabama. I think he was the top player in his recruiting class. Injury issues, basically just never played. And so like they've taken these huge swings that just haven't worked out. And so now we're about to see how much money TCU has, right? Because they obviously have something. Women's basketball is putting money everywhere, right? Women's basketball is they got Olivia Miles from Notre Dame. They got last year they had Haley Van Lith. There's money at TCU. It's a private school. We don't know how much. There could be a ton. There could be not as much as we think. But we're about to see, I think, this offseason in particular, because I think Sonny Dykes knows that he can't be out of the Big 12 race in November, or by November, I should say. He has to be very much competing with those teams that are now in the race.
Yeah, whenever you either have a conference clear out like that, or you jump conferences, or you have a pop-up season know, where you play for a national championship, you assume these guys are in my rear view.
Yeah.
It's just straightfortard from here, man.
Yes.
Like, we're just going.
Exactly.
And then it's a shame, like, you have to take the money when the money's there. When people are wanting to donate and excited about the team, like, of course you're playing at the top of your conference. Like, that's how it works, right? But then whenever it's down, you got to go, that money you gave me, sorry about all that. I know it's not hyper local, but I love watching the 6-0 start in Aggie football each year, and then watch the next 3 losses.
Yeah.
hasn't happened this
right?
year.
No, I thought it was Saturday. I thought Saturday was the
It looked
Aggie,
like
and instead
Saturday.
it was the inverse Aggie. It was
like, oh my
unbelievable.
God, this is what Georgia does. It's like, let's wake up and actually play football and steamroll somebody.
Yeah, like I know it's not hyper local, but I know a lot of Aggies watch this show, and hey, what's up, weirdos? My whole other side of my family is Aggies, so I have to listen to it all the time. But yeah, Saturday was scary. 30-3 in a first half against the South Carolina team that you're like, I don't know if they can score 30 points to save their lives.
Right. That was
This season for Aggie, are they legit as a number 3, as a title contender in your estimation?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think that's the devastating part. If you're an A&M hater, I hate to say it, like they look legit. I was not a Marcel Reed believer this time last year when they were yo-yoing him, and I think they made him the starter by now, but they were kind of pushing Connor Wigman out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Connor Wigman fan. I think he's been great for Houston, still battling injuries, but I thought that they didn't utilize him right. I thought that he's a mobile quarterback. Houston's used him as a mobile quarterback, and they didn't last year. A&M did not last year. Granted, Marcel Reed taking the leap he is to where he's now a fringe Heisman contender, in addition to surrounding him with as much talent as they could, right? The run game could be better, but they've also suffered injuries there. But they just went and got a ton of wide receivers. Casey Concepcion, all these guys. Craver.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah, like they're so
Craver's
good.
going to be really good in a year or
so
two.
good.
Yeah.
And after losing like Evan Stewart a couple years ago, their 5-star, right? That was the one thing with Jimbo was like he just got a bunch of talent, but didn't know how to like actually coach it. And like it probably didn't gel the right way. Now they're like, yeah, we can just get a bunch of guys from the portal and like that make sure they work together. And they play physical. Their offensive line is like very they look like Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas offensive lines. And then Mike Elko's defense, man. Like, that's a guy who just knows how to coach defense. And you look back at when he was at Notre Dame before A&M, right? He was a big part of why Notre Dame was continuing to be great under Brian Kelly. And then when he comes in, Jimbo Fisher's best year was with Mike Elko as defensive coordinator, had them flying around, had people thinking wrecking crew again, goes to Duke. That was their calling card for his years at Duke. And now he's come in and he's like, yeah, we'll make this work. Like, a lot of people were worried because the defense wasn't good towards the end of Jimbo's tenure. And they're like, can Mike Elko come and fix this right away? Yes. Like, the defense was great last year. The issue was the offense could not sustain itself. Marcel Reed was a first-year starter. Things didn't work out. Wide receivers weren't that great. And so he's like, let's go fix that. The talent's here defensively. Let's hold on to that talent. Guys like, I almost said Anthony Hill, DJ Hicks on the defensive line, all these different things. Like, they have talent. They have recruits on that side of the ball. It was just putting them in the right position. And then offensively, can you sustain and maybe make that complementary to where the defense isn't eventually giving up 30 because they've been on the field so much in the fourth quarter? Eventually, no, yeah, they're just playing. Like we saw it against South Carolina. That was the scariest I think this team's been this year, where you're like, this team's dead in the water. South Carolina hasn't had the year that they have, but they still had a guy in Lenore Sellers who was talked about as a potential NFL
ridiculously gifted.
Yeah, ridiculously gifted. Maybe playing for somebody else next year.
Yeah,
but
if he transfers somewhere, look out.
Yeah, and he may regain his stock in 27. But like you look at that team, you're like, that team has talent. Like there's no way they'll give up this 30-3 lead. And what happened? That didn't. But before you blinked, A&M is a one-score game, and you're like, oh, my God, they're going to win this game, like, easily.
Yeah.
As soon as they scored that last touchdown to make it a one-score game, I was like, wow, this game's over.
Yeah.
Like, they've been punched in the mouth, and South Carolina can't come back. So, yeah, I think that the thing that they nailed with the Mike Elko hire, you're going to hear the FFC, the effing football coach, name a lot. I think that they got somebody who's doesn't care about politics, doesn't care about, winning the press conference. He's a great defensive coordinator who's good enough at the politics to then shake hands with the boosters, get the people to throw the bag whenever they need to. But also like, hey, just let me play ball. Like let me do all this stuff. I think with Stephen Godfrey, who's writes for the Washington Post and does Yahoo, he mentioned how when Jimbo Fisher was the head coach, Mike Elko was the guy that they actually sent to a lot of the boosters. And it was like, Mike Elko was the one shaking hands to be like, he's doing the stuff that Jimbo didn't want to do. Yeah. Right. And
now he's got Jimbo's job.
Right. Now he's got Jimbo's job. And like, he's okay.
And his money.
Yeah. Exactly. He's okay doing the things that Jimbo didn't want to do, but he's also like, all right, cool. Let me just focus on football right now and make sure that the defense is so. A&M didn't care about the splash, which is what they did with Jimbo. They didn't care about zigging while everyone else was zagging. They just said, who's a guy that's familiar with us, who's proven, and can get us raise the floor, right? It's not about the ceiling. It's about the floor. At least this team looks like at least they're winning 8-9 games for like the next 10 years. Okay, we'll see, but like that's what they look like right now.
Under Jimbo, it's really funny to me. Aggie had kind of become Longhorn.
Yes.
Which is the thing they hate the most.
Yes.
Just like paper tigers, a bunch of kids making checks.
Number one recruiting class
of
all time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Not really trying or willing to like go hit people or put in efforts and then getting drafted first round, right? Because all the NFL guys know those are really good athletes. Those guys can play a little bit. But anyway, it just cracked me up over the years. I was like, y'all became Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't realize
you hate.
Yes, and like you see all these players leave A&M and be good. Like Haynes King. Haynes King's awesome for Georgia
He's
Tech.
great.
He's one of my favorite. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks that I've ever seen in high school. And I remember me and Shahan J. Raja when we were at our last stop. We talked about how he was an A&M quarterback made in a lab, right? Like East Texas, high school kid, coach's son, gritty. Like and you would think, like brought back Longview's first state title in like 70 years, right? Cult hero, like A&M made in a lab. Like if Johnny Manziel was taller and actually fast and not just like a chicken with your head cut off quick, but like actually fast, that's Haynes King.
Yeah.
And he looked like he could not play football at all. And now he's at Georgia Tech, and they're going to go and play Georgia with a potential chance to beat Georgia in a couple weeks. So it showed that they had talent, but like you said, like they either guys were there for a check or they didn't know how to get them on the same page, or they just, like in Haynes King, did not know how to coach them at all. And now they're the destination again. Like, and we'll see that. I mean, there's going to be some narratives written about the Texas and A&M game this year. It's in Austin, right? A&M has a chance to go unbeaten and go to the playoff and SEC championship. Texas, I mean, they're probably out of the playoff, but they need to win that game if they want to have a sliver.
Could be the Arch redemption arc if it happens.
Exactly. Like Arch has been playing well. So like it's going to be a fantastic game for narratives either way. Because either it's A&M saying new sheriff in town or Texas saying same old. Right?
Yep.
And I'm here for it either way because I just like watching the fight.
I just love that game, man.
Yeah,
that Thanksgiving game.
I'm glad it's back. It needs to be
last year was
happening.
awesome. Like the pregame was like, it gave me goosebumps, seeing it on TV. I was like, yes, this needed to happen.
This is right.
Yes, this game needed to happen.
Yeah.
And if you're just in this state, you know what it's always meant. Like I wasn't there, but I remember watching Vince Young struggle against Stephen McGee and that A&M team. And you're like, there's no reason this should be a one-score game.
Why is this happening?
Yeah. And like, it always happens.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, let's get you out of here on some rapid fire, some buzzer beaters. To cap off this whole local football discussion, power rank the quarterbacks: Kevin Jennings, Drew Mestemaker, Josh Hoover.
Ooh, that's a tough one. All three are good, so I don't make it sound like whoever's last is like genuinely bad or something. I'm going to go with Kevin Jennings. I'm going to go just longevity, Jennings, Hoover, Mestemaker right now.
Okay.
I do think Mestemaker has the chance by the end of the year to overstep Hoover, but a lot of the issues aren't Hoover's fault with TCU right now.
Yeah.
Everyone knows those quarterbacks. They don't know some of the other players on TCU, SMU, and North Texas. Down the stretch, give me a non-quarterback who's going to define the rest of this season for those teams.
Caleb Hawkins for UNT.
Caleb
Hawkins has been, I believe he's like top 3 in the country in rushing yards or rushing touchdowns, I think.
Yeah.
He's going to have a 20 rushing yard season and a 20 touchdown rushing season, I should say. Yeah. And he's been the biggest reason why I think Drew Mestemaker's looked as good is because they have balance. Yeah. And I think that's been the defining characteristic of Eric Morris is that he's not, despite coming from the Leach system and Cliff Kingsbury, he's not just air it out. He's figured out how to make a really good running game, and they've had that every single year he's been there. And it's going to be because of that balance that if they do make the playoffs, they do win the championship. Because as we saw, if they get in the athlete race with USF, we saw how that turned out, right? If they start making turnovers, so keeping that balance, keeping that rhythm of the game, keeps them in everything until they start making mistakes. But if they don't make those mistakes, they're with anybody in the country.
Yeah, if they're within the 10-yard line, it's like Hawk.
Yeah, exactly.
Hawk's going to get you 6.
Yes,
just give it. Just matters if it's the first time or the fourth time.
Exactly.
He's going to get in there.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about the idea of Drew Mestemaker leaving Denton. Going forward because that's going to make me really sad. But Eric Morris.
Yes.
What do you think the chances are that Eric Morris is up in Denton Way next year?
It depends on – because right now it depends on – I think the obvious calls are going to be Arkansas and Oklahoma State, I think, are the obvious ones. it depends on if Oklahoma State wants to pay the buyout because, T. Boone Pickens is not alive anymore. And so, they don't have that spigot of money that was once there. If they want to pay the buyout that Eric Moore's just re-upped with UNT, I don't know. I think it's going to if Auburn comes calling or Arkansas comes calling, that's going to be hard to turn down. I genuinely think so for him. Red Lashley could turn it down because SMU's, But Arkansas has John Tyson meets money, right? So
got John Calipari there.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to tell you, he had Calipari. There's also a guy in Arlington that maybe has some money with Arkansas as well. So we'll see. I would not be shocked if this is the year that he leaves. But I also would not be shocked if all those schools like Arkansas say, do it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe one more year, which as a Texas State fan has been benefited for GJ Kinney, right? It's been 8 wins, cool, do it again. And now it's probably looking like this year's going to be either he's going to leave, maybe we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if they say do it one more year, not saying make the playoff, but 8 or 9 wins, and then we'll come calling. Which, again, for UNT's hope, hang on to him for one more year, maybe get the infrastructure in place to be able to then go into the offseason and get a head coach next year. We'll see.
I told you, as a fellow pro wrestling nerd, I was going to ask you something.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Which wrestler is having the best 2025?
It's hard to argue against Bandito. I'm a Bandito
good.
Guy. He's incredible. Headline every New Mexico. He's gonna be AEW champion in the next year and a half.
Oh, that's a good take. I like this take. This is a good take.
I think that if they do Forbidden Door in Arena Mexico next year, I think he's winning the title. A title, whether it's the main title or unified or whatever. Bandito's Konosuke Takeshita. I love Takeshita. Those are my two right now. Throw a woman in there, Mercedes Moné. It's hard not to argue.
Io's had a great year, but
Io's had a great WrestleMania, and then Triple H forgot to book her for 3 months.
That happens.
So
that's part of happening.
She won a title in a great match, and she's the best wrestler on that roster. But then Triple H was like, "I have a women's champion." It's where'd she go? Oh, Io, put on another 5-star match for us, please. So I love Io, but sometimes they forget that they have her on the roster.
It's true.
Yeah.
I agree.
He loves wrestling. He knows all of it.
Yeah, all the wrestling.
Fill in the blank.
Yep.
Your 2026 college football national champion is...
Oh, man. Oh, that's a good question. I think I want to be weird and say Indiana's going to do it, but
I know it rules so much. I want it so bad.
That would be so amazing. Part of me is dang, is this going to be another boring year where it's actually just Ohio State again? Because they look great. They just haven't played that great of a schedule.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Ohio State again. Julian Sands kind of figured it out. They look like last year, and Caleb Downs looks like the best defensive player in the country right now. It's frustrating because I was when he was in the NFL, I was like, Matt Patricia doesn't know how to coach football. And then all of a sudden he comes to college. He's like, oh my God, Caleb Downs we're going to blitz you. We're going to have you do run defense. We're going to do all these different things. And I was like, dang. He might turn him into a top 5 pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's going to be Ohio State. I think it's either Ohio State or I can't go Oregon. I was going to go Oregon. I can't do it. I can't do Oregon, man. I remember last year. I thought it was Oregon last year. I'm going to say Indiana. I'm going to say either or.
I think we all know as the people what we want to see here.
Oh, 100%. Dude,
yeah.
Oh my
get
God.
an Indiana national title.
Yes. Oh, but Kurt Cignetti, I will say, this is off topic, but Kurt Cignetti has ruined so many coaches' jobs because they're like, why is Indiana winning? And they're like, we just got to get Indiana. There's no excuse for you.
If he can win there, why can't you win? Because he's better at this than you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of it.
Northwestern's looking at their head coach Indiana's winning. It's stop comparing me to what they have there.
It's beating.
Yeah. Well, until next year, until North Texas whoops his ass.
With your booster money.
Come on.
There you go. StrongSide booster money.
There you go.
Yeah. He's Ishmael Johnson. He's the best. Read him at D Magazine. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Appreciate it, man. This is fun. I love this.
Well, that was a good time. Way better than lawsuit talk. But
go meet and greet.
Hey, but you still got a little vitriol in you, Mike. So we're gonna bring back one of our new favorite games because this is only the second time we've done it. We're gonna play a little game called Who Do You Hate? Mark Marshall, what's darkening your heart right now?
So I know I complain about some nuanced topics sometimes, and that's just that's a feature, not a bug of my personality and my relationship with friends. The story of the NBA season thus far, besides Nico Harrison getting fired, let's
the 1B.
Let's
the
caveat
B block.
that.
The B block of the NBA season.
The story thus far, injuries. Super fun, right? And you might say, it's kind of fluky. This just kind of happens. Well, it's injuries to big stars as well. And Tom Havastro did a really good in-depth research into how many games stars are missing currently, whether it's sitting or actually being injured. And so I got some stats for you. Previous 2 seasons, stars, and guys that are all-stars or made any all-NBA team missed 1 out of every 9 or 10 games that they were slated to play. Thus far, this season, stars in the NBA are missing 1 out of every 3 games.
It's not what you want.
And I hate that, and I wish it was avoidable, but because of the schedule that is happening and the back-to-backs, the condensed 82-game schedule, combined with the pace that teams are playing at this year, this is unavoidable for teams, for stars, for players that play heavy minutes, because the human body is not meant to play at this pace of basketball. To run 34 miles a night per team is what they're averaging right now. Pace is higher than ever. Teams are learning you can win with effort. You can win beating people down the court and back and forth. And so what people don't realize, I think, about the NBA and scheduling, and I think it was Popovich that made a big stink about it at one point of sitting people on back-to-backs and national televised games. You know, it's an issue. It's a wedge issue on its own. But when teams start doing this en masse every other night and every 4th game, a back-to-back is getting sat, whether it's a national game or not, that is the only recourse these teams have to tell you that the schedule does not work for them. It is a not-so-silent revolt against 82 games, against an NBA Cup, against a back-to-back, and now against the pace and the back-to-backs and the 82-game condensed schedule. People are getting hurt at a rate. The people you are paying to see, that you are paying the ticket to buy and see, are getting hurt and missing more games than ever before. It's largely Achilles. It's largely calf injuries.
To prevent the Achilles injuries.
It's so many lower, below-the-knee injuries because of the pace of basketball, and this schedule was not made for this pace of basketball.
Well, you know what else it wasn't made for? This is the especially dystopian part of this whole deal, is that this all starts at the youth level, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to anybody, and I've done this line of work for a long time, I've talked to people in tons of different sports. If you talk to people from the college and professional ranks up, they will tell you they want people to not specialize in the sports they play because you give your body a break in what you're doing year round. But now, the rise of AAU, the rise of too many people have a financial incentive to play kids year round in one sport all the time. These dudes are playing, just their legs are taking a pounding in this game from before they hit puberty to adulthood. And by the time you're 23, 24, your legs are cooked, man.
Yep.
I mean, you are doing this for the time you are 10 until the time you are 35. Only this.
Yep.
It's not healthy and it's not good. So, yeah, you're not even getting, people think, a bunch of fresh cropped kids coming to the NBA. They just played a college schedule. How do they adjust to the NBA grind? The reality is that they already have tons of miles on their legs, way more than people did 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, and it's the combined pace, the schedule, throwing in extra NBA Cup games in there, the preseason that probably doesn't need to exist. The product on any given night has become bad. One of those reasons as well is teams can't practice. They literally cannot practice. Nope. They don't have days or times or days that aren't recovery days to get out there and practice. Steve Kerr talked about this yesterday. He was like, the pace is scaring the hell out of me because people are playing faster than ever. We're running more miles than ever.
Yeah.
And this last road trip we had, this last 2-week trip we had, I couldn't practice. So it is on its face worse basketball.
And that's before getting into, which also is a byproduct of the practice thing, everybody runs the same sets.
Yes.
Everybody does the same stuff. They're like two or three teams that play differently. No, you can't. So this basketball is actively worse than what was existing 20 years ago.
Yes. And that's besides the fact that whenever you make your money and you go home and you decide what you want to spend it on and you pick that really cool I don't know, Wemby versus Giannis game that might be happening this week. I really want to see those guys go at it. That'd be so cool. I'm sorry. That's not happening, bud. Neither are playing right now. Along with most of the other stars in the NBA right now are not playing. So I guess what I'm asking is stretch the season out, man. You're not going to do fewer games because that would mean less money. We're not going to do that. You can't change the pace because you can't dictate how teams play.
Right.
And you can't create,
you will go slower.
competitive advantage.
Not happening.
You have to stretch the season out. You just have to. Unless you want, 1 out of every 3 games for a star to miss and your product to be worse because you can't practice. Teams are telling you, this doesn't work for us. They've been saying it for a while with back-to-backs. Now they're saying it even more, screaming from the top of the mountain because of pace. This is bad basketball that we're serving to people. And you can't keep serving bad basketball and bad meals to your clients and assume that they're going to come back. That's my whole thing.
Well, now I'm sad.
Some guys are coming back. Some stars are coming back this week from injury, but
there will be more that will join them in the future. Yeah, no, it's very funny, and there's a larger conversation to be had about how 5 years ago it was what is baseball doing, and this product is a mess, and who's running it, and now baseball's figuring its shit out, and it's exciting and it's interesting, and the NBA is taking its spot, and nobody would have thought. Everybody was, the NBA is the future, it's the cutting edge, and now it's like, this is a mess. Yeah. This is really a problem. Your whole deal, top to bottom. I don't know. It won't be like that forever. I'm sure some reckoning will come. Leagues peak and they valley. That's how this goes. But yeah, it's not good right now. So, but we'll still talk about it.
Vote for me.
We're not going anywhere.
I'll fix it.
Vote for Mike. He's going to fix it and then give the resulting windfall to the University of North Texas football program.
Of course.
Yeah. He's got his priorities in order, this guy. And we have our priorities in order, which is making good stuff for you guys. So thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging. We'll see you next week.